Woo! Ric Flair is returning to the ring in his early 70s. Is this going to be the last stand for the Nature Boy and the controversial circumstances around it? And the reaction to it is through the roof. It's today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story. Plus, The Rock is going head-to-head with Friday Night SmackDown. A network wrestling TV ratings battle looms in the fall of 2022. Buzz. Cody Rhodes doesn't just say he's the best in the world. He's the best in the world by a wide margin. Do you agree? Is there a WWE World Championship in his future if he's talking this big game? WWE had its big rollout for advertisers with its TV partners in Fox and NBC. And what does this mean for new content coming from the biggest promotion in all of professional wrestling? Sports entertainment. We'll get into all of it. Share the link or you stink. Do you hear me? I can smell you through the screen not sharing the link. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! When I say watch out, you watch out.
Watch out.
There
when
you
I
go.
say watch, you say out. Watch
out. Watch out. There we go.
out.
The Watch Out Gang is going on. What's up? We're here on Monday. A lot of news to get into. A lot of news over the weekend as well. You can check it all out at sportskeeda.com. Latest on that developing MJF situation. Nothing super new there, but it is certainly something that has a lot of people talking. We have the big story of the day here in just a few minutes with Ric Flair, but we'll also be talking Cody Rhodes. We'll be talking WWE's television future with Fox and NBC. It's kind of interesting here and how there is some conflict there as well that we'll get into. That it's kind of interesting. If you're with us for the first time, don't make the last time. Go ahead and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube, making the march towards 30,000. Also, check us out on Twitch. We're going to be doing our first Twitch stream coming up this. We're twitching, the top story.
I'm always twitching, but
yes,
yeah.
We're always twitching because of the caffeine.
Or how the Latin people say, we're going to go el Twitch.
So basically what's going to happen, we are going to do our very first video game live stream on our Twitch channel.
Yeah,
we may also do Facebook and YouTube to try to get more people over to Twitch on our debut here. But what we're going to do, we're going to have you control the game. We're going to do GM mode. We're going to have your thoughts, how you want this federation, this Sportskeeda federation to be shaped. And so we'll go live after Dynamite on Wednesday and probably go for about an hour and see how it goes. So make sure to subscribe to Twitch because it's going to be eventually a Twitch only thing.
Yeah, so definitely go check that out. That'll be this Friday night.
And
after, Wednesday night.
Wednesday, after Dynamite. And
there is Friday night news. I'm looking at the notes here ahead here.
Yeah,
so that's one.
And there is some breaking news we could talk about. Squeeze in here a little later. Zach Wentz has officially put out a statement regarding the Hitler photo that has just come out on Fightful. So we can touch on that later.
All right, certainly going to be an interesting episode. Ric Flair. Ric Flair is arguably one of the biggest names in professional wrestling history. He has not wrestled a full-fledged match in 11 years. His last televised match was with Impact Wrestling in 2011 or so. And then, of course, he had the big send-off with WWE in 2008. Though he's had active roles with WWE and other promotions past that, including a tour of Australia where he wrestled Hulk Hogan numerous times. Down in the ring, done some things here and there. Rick obviously garnering a lot of controversy, being accused of some very serious sexual harassment in the documentary Dark Side of the Ring, and then had some very serious health issues, including a pacemaker. He does have a pacemaker after being in a medically induced coma some years ago. Now, Rick started to make a real social media storm here as he continues to stay present, podcasting, all these different things he's doing. He's training in the ring with Jay Lethal, and this has been getting a lot of attention. And people say, "Why are you doing that? You're in the ring. You're getting these videos on where you're throwing, people into the ropes, and all these different things." And then it announced he's going to have a match July 31st. This is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, a part of StarCast 5. And now we're hearing this will not be a singles match, according to several sources in the industry. This story originally broken by Fightful. Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer reporting that the match could potentially be a 6-man tag match with Ric Flair teaming with the team of FTR from All Elite Wrestling to take on, of course, a beloved tag team, Rock and Roll Express, who would also have another person with them.
Which,
it gets more complicated, as because in the last half hour we've learned, once again, tip of the cap to old William Meltzer himself, Sean Ross Sapp, that we've learned that one Richard Blood, known to mortal people, Richard Blood, you'd think that would be a real wrestler's name, but no, that's the real name of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat,
Dick
who
Blood?
at 69 years old could be having another match here. Of course, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat have a long history, arguably some of the best matches in the history of the NWA. Before we get into it, we know people will bring up the controversial situation with Rick here. And that's going to loom over this whole thing here. But this story is crazy. It is through the roof. There's going to be a lot of people debating whether or not this should happen. This will air on pay-per-view. It's being billed as Ric Flair's last match. It will stream exclusively on pay-per-view with Fight TV. So,
at a combined age of 600.
Ricky Castillo asking a question here.
Can
Can he wrestle with a pacemaker? I would assume you shouldn't be doing that. Triple H had one put in.
Lawler does it all the time. So
yeah, and Lawler does. But I mean, I also think Lawler doesn't wrestle a very demanding style.
No, neither will Flair nowadays. So I mean,
yeah,
but
especially in that last video that we saw with Jay Lethal, the way that he was working Lethal, he looked really good, and Jay Lethal took really good care of him, and what we saw in that footage. So, I mean, it's been a minute since he's had a match, but it's just like riding a bicycle, right? Just kind of like getting back in there and just let the young guns do all the work, let him get the top spots, get his spots in, and put the figure 4 and win the match.
Except the team they're facing are not young guns, but the Rock and Roll Express
still take good care of them, though.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Express have been very active in NWA. I think if I remember right, Ricky and his son are tagging coming up on an NWA. I think there's a triple threat for the tag titles. I think Ricky and his son are tagging together, which is pretty cool. And of course, you got Robert Gibson. Him and Robert have been working NWA, and they've been working. So if you watched Power before the pandemic, they put on some good matches. Ricky recently fought Effie at a GCW event. It's still a damn good match. They can still put on some damn good matches. I remember Steamboat had that little bit of a resurgence in the WWE when he feuded with, I think, Chris Jericho. And he looked good in the ring back then, too. He hasn't wrestled, though, in 12 years. So, and there was rumors that he had some health issues, too, which I don't know how factual those were. But last time Steamboat wrestled was with his son in FCW against one Trent Beretta.
Ricky Morton is 69 years old.
How old's Robert Gibson? He's a little younger.
I'm looking that up. And Robert is not too far behind. He's 63.
I mean, Matt Stoltz says it best here: the old farts versus the old geezers.
Yeah, and then FTR.
And then FTR, yeah.
That wrestles like old farts.
Yeah.
Good old farts.
This is a lot, man. I don't know what to think about this.
Like I said,
don't know what to think about
this.
A combined age of 600.
Is your mind so blown at this very moment in time that you just don't have you usually have a really good, long, and elaborate response for something like this? But
I just have concerns
now.
I have legitimate concerns as to whether or not this is something that's going to be interesting.
Nice.
I've heard some people that I spoke to, and I also heard some other people in wrestling media today, kind of as this has been developing all day long. We learned the Richard Blood, Ricky Steamboat edition in the last little bit here. I don't know. I really don't know. I have to question it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I mean, on paper, it isn't. In practicality, how much can he do? How much danger is he in? How much danger could someone else be in the match as well if he's in a position where he has to, get somebody up there? And I also agree with you. It's a 6-man match. This isn't a singles. He's not going a 60-minute Broadway. He doesn't have to take all of the punishment. There's a lot of different things you can do in this to hide this. I completely get that. But it's going to be entertaining. And there's other people have talked in the industry who kind of compare this to the Triller fights. Like that it's the novelty of it is the attraction. And I think wrestling has always been in that category for some people out on the outside, on the fringe, right? But this is a match that they're going to market to diehard lifelong wrestling fans. So, I mean, that's the point here is you're going to market this as a guy having his match in his 6th decade.
Yeah, and you're marketing a match that could be his last, so you could say you were there for his last. Though I'm sure Flair will find himself in another match.
This comment right here is hilarious. Steven Chambers on Facebook saying, "Who's promoting this? Conrad Thompson."
Technically, it's Jim Crockett Promotions, which is promoting this. That's what they're billing.
I know, but it's funny because Conrad Thompson works with all the legends, in the podcast world. So it wouldn't be surprising that Conrad Thompson would put something on like this.
True, but I also think it's Ric Flair is going to do what Ric Flair wants to do, and I think the key here is that Rick will push it. You look at those documentaries, you see he has been open about his addiction to performing like this, and his desire to perform as much as he can in any way he can. And it seemed like he had made some type of transition out of the business and playing like a complimentary secondary role. Did it with Charlotte, did it with Randy Orton, and all these different things, and was, I don't want to say content, but happier. But there's other things in his life. Who knows?
He hasn't wrestled an official match since 2011 when he faced Sting.
Yes, and that was on Impact Wrestling. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to judge anyone for wanting to do something like this beyond their physical limitations, but it's just concerning. Is that fair? Like I'm not questioning.
I totally get it. I mean, you're talking about a guy in his 70s who's looking to get back into the ring, take bumps like if he was 30 something, So I totally get where you're coming from. But from a fan's perspective, I think that this will be a fun thing for the fans, but I'm still taking a little bit of caution with it too. Like I'm just being very cautiously optimistic about it because I don't want anything to happen to him.
Mm-hmm. No. Christopher Ryan Cooper, it might be interesting, but it is really what's best for Rick's health. Me as a wrestling fan, yes, I've always loved Ric Flair, but I do not want him getting hurt or something worse.
Exactly.
So, and maybe that's a part of the appeal of this. Let's get into this story. This is the most watched show in professional wrestling. Technically, doesn't have actual matches in it. It is that show on there on the right you see on the screen. The Young Rock on NBC confirmed to have another season. It is currently in its second season as a comedy and dramedy that kind of recreates the rise to prominence of when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson within the WWE and Hollywood. They're currently at the point where he's just getting into his WWE career and starting to figure things out there. So it's a pretty good show. I mean, there's some parts of it that are kind of odd in terms of how they display certain wrestling characters and that isn't super inaccurate, but you have to do certain things for story. So I'm okay with it. And it's in the line of shows like Glow and Heels that have dramatized in a scripted format a wrestling show. So it's interesting because this show has aired on Tuesday nights. And WWE's television partnerships for Raw and NXT are under the NBCUniversal banner on their cable channel USA, while in the United States, NBC Network has Young Rock, which has been a strong hit. It's more of a demographic performer for them on network TV. But problem is, with the Upfronts today, the Upfronts are the presentation kind of like a convention where the networks show off what they want to do for their upcoming fall schedule in the spring to promote ad sales for it. They do this with sports and different stuff like that. And WWE is a part of it. We'll talk about what WWE's presentation was with this. The problem, though, is there's going to be a real conflict. It's going to go head to head, as you can see there. A Friday night SmackDown has been their night for WWE on Fox, and it's been a strong show for them. Does well in the demographics. But the problem is, coming up, they're going to have an hour of comedy on Friday nights. A new George Lopez show is going to premiere at 8 p.m. East. And then 8:30 is going to be The Rock. So we're going to have Young Rock right there. And that'll put it head to head for at least 30 minutes with WWE Friday Night SmackDown. It is worth noting some Young Rock does get some promos and some interstitials. They've aired clips of it on Raw, which is just, you're under the NBC banner. That makes sense. They did that with the Olympics. They did that with other things. But then to counter that, Fox would promote, SmackDown during sporting events. And you'd see, WWE names at like the college bowl games and stuff like that. So this is part of the business, but certainly a real conflict because it's also worth noting WWE is one of the producers of the Young Rock show. They have to license those characters and names out to NBC to do all this stuff. And they've been a part of some of the scripting of it. And Brian Gerwitz, a longtime former WWE writer, is one of the lead producers on this with $7 Productions. So that's the whole story. What's your take on this, guys? This kind of confusing situation.
This is actually very interesting. Over the weekend, so my wife Brenda, shout out to Brenda, love you. My wife Brenda keeps a very close eye on TV programming and like who gets picked up, who gets renewed. She's very in tune to that, so she pays very close attention. And over the weekend, she was
a busy
telling
week.
me about a handful of a lot of shows got canned. It was a bloodbath this weekend, for Hollywood and TV. And Young Rock was on the chopping block. They were in the bubble. That Young Rock with another handful of NBC shows that are doing well. They were on the chopping block, but luckily they got renewed. But in the sitcom world, when you get changed to a Friday night, that's usually a death sentence for a sitcom. So I don't know how this is going to work out in the end. If this is just me thinking outside of the box, after this third season, if you want to continue and continue telling that story, you should just make it a Peacock exclusive and just go straight to streaming.
Yeah, it could be.
That's just me. But that's just me.
It would have been a huge disappointment if they didn't get a third season because they're just now getting into his WWE career.
Exactly.
But they lost 1 million viewers from start to finish of season 2. They were barely scraping the 2 million mark, which I don't think on a Tuesday is what NBC wants. I mean, SmackDown gets that on a Friday night. So, you know, to get it on a Tuesday night is kind of a different story. So
you want to see my favorite comment about this already?
In the chat
Joseph
here?
Austin saying, win-win. Whoever wins the ratings gets to use as a talking point in the Reigns Rock feud.
There you go.
That's what I was thinking too. Just kind of being like the fan mark behind this. I'm like looking at this. I'm like, what if this is just all one big work to line everything up for WrestleMania 39? They went to the depths to the networks to get this story told to everybody.
Or
look what I did to you, Dwayne. I can't. My SmackDown destroyed your little.
Do you not think
show?
Do you not think it's Universal trying to take people from Fox?
No, I think it's a combination of NBC doesn't really worry about it because it's not their TV show.
A lot of people are going to watch this on DVR anyways.
Yes, but they certainly
Hulu.
have to think.
Or Peacock.
I don't think it's their number. I don't think it's NBC's number one thing because if you're doing this, you have to talk to NBC about it. I mean, NBC had to go to WWE and say that this is something that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? At the same time, NBC gets to dictate the terms. The show's produced. They order another season. Then that's it. Wherever they want to put it is where they want to put it and how they want to market it. And then it's kind of out of your hands at that point. This is
just why I just don't get into shows until they're a lot of years in and I can binge them or until they're done. I just don't do it hardly at all.
Well, I can tell you the Young Rock show is a fun show to binge. That's the way I did it with the first season.
I've gotten into I watched Young Rock right away. I've watched Peacemaker right away because those are ones I felt like would have some legs. But overall, I'm not just going to try anything that looks good because a lot of times, especially on Netflix, it's going to get axed after a year half the time.
Oh my God. I know this is not a TV commentary show where we review TV shows that come out on streaming services, but whatever you do, do not watch the Pentaveret on Netflix.
Never even heard of it.
I repeat.
Oh, this is you're talking about the new Mike Myers show, right?
Yes. I repeat, do not watch Pentaveret. Okay.
Right, I'm disappointed. Cody Rhodes, he is the most talked about professional wrestling superstar to make the jump from AEW back to WWE, where he started his pro wrestling career. And he continues to make the media rounds. He was on Broken Skull Sessions, 2 hours, nearly a 2-hour show. I watched it this past weekend. I loved it. He continues to ring the banner and really make a lot of noise. Some people are eyeing him as a potential person to usurp and dethrone Roman Reigns as the top star in the company. And certainly the most shocking defection that we've seen in wrestling ranks in some time. But now he's not just saying he's a big star. He's saying he's the best in the world by a large margin. Tell me about this.
Cody Rhodes speaking with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. And basically, he says that they haven't had any interactions yet, haven't crossed paths in the ring. I know enough to see that he's incredible and even better when I see him up close. But so this isn't the easiest path I've chosen, but I know I can do this. I think I'm the best wrestler in the world, and it's by a large margin. That upsets a lot of people, but I don't mean to draw ire. That is all I do. I'm not in charge. I'm here to hone my craft, build my body, and win matches. Every week I have to be better, and that's the ultimate clarity for me.
Wow. What do you think here? The authority that Cody is saying these things, the way he is, the candor he's saying, the candidness of it. Obviously, in wrestling, the biggest mark for you should sometimes be yourself, right? That's what we always hear. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But you have a great week, Donna Marie Evans. Have a great week, everyone. I want you to have a great week. But no, I want to say this. Like, the way he's talking, it gives me a sense of, like, he is so confident coming into this WWE run. He's so confident. He's not even at the top of the card yet. And he's having very highlighted matches with Seth Rollins. He's had maybe 2 of the best matches WWE's presented on pay-per-view this year. I think that's a fair argument. He had that grand entrance with his logo, with his presentation, with all the things he wanted. He's got the bus, gets to be a big star. Are we looking at the guy to take over Reigns? Is he the guy? Now everyone's saying that. I want to tap into that conversation.
He very well could possibly be that next guy to take over Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes is coming into a WWE completely different from 2015, 2016. The dynamics different networks now. And Cody Rhodes is coming into a place where he understands his value. He understands what he is bringing to the table. The guy left the company, made a name for himself in the independent in Japan, came back, collaborated with a group of people, created AEW, launched that off the floor, stuck with them for a few years, knows his value, came back because he wants to get the big one. He feels he's the best in the world in his paradigm. Who are we to argue that he isn't the best in the world by a long margin? So that confidence is just going to radiate, and people will piggyback on that. And I think he will eventually be that guy to be the guy to dethrone Roman. Only time will tell. But that confidence is something that he truly believes in his paradigm. So who are we to argue against that?
Yeah, I mean, Vince was in a unique position when he was able to take a founding guy from AEW, and obviously a guy that's been known in the WWE world. So you cannot be surprised if he's going to be world champ. It's almost a guarantee that Vince is going to make him world champ very soon, just because of the unique situation that he's in, being able to take one of those founding fathers.
I don't know if it's that simple. Maybe it's the right story and the right time. I do think at some point he does get to be world champion. They wouldn't have him present that in his first time on Monday Night Raw and say that that's the point. That's the whole reason. Let me put it. That's my dad holding that title. He actually didn't get to keep it. They told him on a technicality he couldn't have it. I'm going to win it for my family, or win it for my family name. That is laid down. That's the groundwork, and the same way that the overarching story. I mean, Reigns can tell all these other stories he wants to tell, but we've already written it. It's written in blood. It's him and Rock. So that's the match. Every other match is going to be another cool match he gets to do before that match. For Rhodes, it is the title. The man will make the title. The title will make the man. So I think that's long-term storytelling. Those are some really, really cool things you can look forward to, even if you're just a casual WWE fan, let alone a diehard one. And I'm on board with it. If they can pay these things off in a big way in the next year or so, yeah, your other matches aside, you're here and theirs. But if you can really hammer those big playoff points down, I'm interested. Kenny Starmaker Bullen, you guys are out of your minds. He's a poor man's Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if this is real Kenny Starmaker Bullen.
Slap nuts.
I don't know.
I think that's a Kenny imposter.
Ricky Castillo saying he's a decent wrestler. He's not the best in the world. Ricky, do you want to change the pillow you're sitting on? Because you seem a little butthurt there, buddy. All right. So a lot of people loved Cody a few months ago. Suddenly it changed their tone on
who
Cody.
Sits on pillows?
This whole thing of naming yourself or calling yourself the best of the world is such a subjective thing.
Yes.
So
CM Punk's the best in the world. It's on a t-shirt.
Yes. Brian Danielson was the best in the world before him.
Exactly. I mean? Shane McMahon was the best in the world. Remember that gimmick?
Yeah. Now that guy's fired.
It's awesome.
Both guys are fired.
All right. Let's get into this story. We mentioned the conflict possibly with Fox and NBC, but both Fox and NBC seemed quite impressed with their future with WWE. Of course, Fox has SmackDown, and NBCUniversal has NXT and the long-running Monday Night Raw. Television rights for both, and of course, Peacock also has the rights to WWE Network pay-per-views. So, what's going on here? What are they presenting here at the Upfronts, the annual convention for that next wave of television near the end of 2022 into 2023? Well, they're saying the way they want to sell the show, specifically the NBC side of things, is not sell it as an entertainment product, but rather sell it more in their sports lane, the same way they would sell sports programming as NBC has. Now, that it's worth noting that NBC did have a shakeup in their sports division, is they really don't have an NBC sports channel syndicated with Comcast Xfinity as a cable network. But they still retain the rights. Streaming has become more what they want to do with sports now. They've started to shift sports sales as well over to Peacock. It is a premium streaming service, but it's not tied to your cable package. And a lot of people can get it for a very affordable price. So how do you supplement it not being as expensive as a Netflix or an HBO Max? Well, you put advertising on it. And some people will jump at that because they don't care. I'll pay the $8 a month and you can put your ads in it. And now they have Major League Baseball on it. So they're really shifting some ad muscle towards that. If you're doing that, then you're going to have some rollover and add-on buys, and one of them can be WWE. So could you see more ads on WWE network specials, your PLEs, your premium live events, and all those? Yes, you can. And they did brag about the zombie tie-in with Army of the Dead on Netflix that drove everyone crazy. But they must have been paid a lot of money because Stephanie McMahon brought it up in this presentation. They did also talk about a new series they're developing as well. This one's interesting on the NBC side of things. With Pinned, and this would be a dramatization of the backstage world of professional wrestling. Another show about the show of wrestling.
Yeah,
we've had a couple of these.
I think that's on the heels of heels is my guess.
Yes, on the heels of heels. Yes, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Will it be an anthology series? We don't know much about it. It does have a big name type of it.
Kevin, it'll be interesting if they do end up doing that dramatization backstage deal. I wonder if they're going to take it on stories that actually happen, or if they're going to make new stories and just kind of dramatize it with WWE wrestlers. I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you how do you visualize something like this? Because, like, for me, if they're gonna do something like that, I would love to see like a backstage thing with like Undertaker and Mankind, like that. You know,
well, it's worth noting. Reading this article from Deadline says Pinned, a behind the scenes show about a fictional wrestling promotion. So in that regard, they're not tied. It's weird that they wouldn't use.
So it's like that regional wrestling thing, but not as campy. Like, you know, they did that
Southpaw Regional Wrestling?
Yeah.
The greatest wrestling promotion of all time?
Damn right.
Hell yeah.
that was a damn good promotion.
You want to talk about one of the greatest casualties of the network move to Peacock for me?
Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
That was
you want to know what you know what I wanted? I didn't want, everyone talks about these WrestleMania week things. Go look up Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
Is it on Peacock? Because a lot of the shit that Peacock promised that a year ago was supposed to be here is now we're coming up on 2 years and it's not there. Like they made a lot of promises of content.
I wanted my WrestleMania week midnight Southpaw Regional Wrestling show. I wanted a live show of wrestlers from WWE just doing all their goofy side gimmicks. That's what I wanted, and I never got it.
That's kind of what
back to you, Chip.
Gallows and Anderson kind of continued on that because they were in
Talking
Southpaw.
I mean, they do that with
Southpaw.
Talk Shop Mania, which is hilarious also, by the way, because it's like so low budget and the cuts are so purposefully done. Oh God, it's so terrible.
It's Stang!
James Espanto.
Yes, can we get that remake? Can we get that remake?
He says WWE reboot the movie Body Slam. If you've never seen the movie Body Slam, you don't need to see the movie Body Slam. It is a pretty bad movie.
It's so bad that it's good only for nostalgic reasons because it is terribly acted and terribly shot. But hey, you get to reminisce about the good old 80s. I Captain Lou Albano in there was amazing. I love that fucking movie.
Are we getting a reboot of Thunder in Paradise? Hulk Hogan,
we need
his laser shooting boat.
We need a dark.
Are we going to get a remake of Three Ninjas High Mountain?
We need a dark side of the ring on that music video Stand Back that Vince McMahon did.
Well, it's just odd that if they're going to do this show and it's based on a fictional promotion, and they're not going to use their own.
It is odd, right? Like you wouldn't. Yeah. Why wouldn't you use your own stories that you've had over
they're seeing
50 plus years of it?
They're seeing the success of heels. They're seeing the success of Dark Side of the Ring. They're seeing the success of all of these types of things that some are based in reality, some are not. You know, so.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. That is today's news. Did you enjoy this episode? How come you haven't given it a like yet? Just give us one of these. Just give me one of those right there. All right. If you watch the whole thing, go check out all the videos on our channel, on our Facebook Watch channel as well, and our side channel, Wrestle Binge. That is up on YouTube right now. We have our top 5 videos. We dropped a bunch of cool ones over the weekend. Jeremy, I know you had a cool one just pop up there as well.
So 3 this weekend. I was a busy talker.
Yeah, what did you drop? What did we get with you?
One moment. Let's pimp the Twitch while I pull that up.
Twitch, we're going to be doing our first live video game Twitch, WWE 2K22. You get to call the GM mode. It's the general crowd audience GM mode. That's going to air on Wednesday night at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. And go check out our Twitch channel for that. Possibly streaming that on other channels as well. And of course, Wrestle Binge, our new side channel with all these different things. And you hear our voices on it, but we, have a bunch of video edited together for it.
I did something pretty cool for MMA. They're going to be launching a docu series here on Sportskeeda MMA. So keep an eye out on that. I don't know when it's dropping, but it's going to be pretty cool. So keep an eye out on that.
I did 5 WWE superstars who misused their creative control. 5 WWE superstars who were released abruptly, 5 WWE superstars who survived major accidents, including one guy that's 73 years old that's going to be wrestling pretty soon.
Oh my God.
Of course, talking about the plane crash of Ric Flair.
Oh man.
What a story. What a story. We'll be back tomorrow with more, following all the big stuff and your comments on screen as well. Remember to share the link or you stink. You can follow us on all the different socials you see there on screen at SKWrestling_ on the Twitter and beyond. And remember, when watching wrestling, please do the most important thing, which is what?
You need to take a deep breath, let it go slowly, and remember to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Where am I?
Woo!
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!